Hello. Today we're going to talk about pressing and ironing, which are two terms that are used interchangeably, but technically mean something different. Pressing is the technique that we use while we're constructing garments, and ironing is removing wrinkles from your clothing. Pressing is a technique of lifting the iron up and setting it down so that you're not gliding and stretching your garment. Pressing is essential to good garment construction. Ironing is gliding the iron forward, and you want to remember not to glide backwards because sometimes that bunches up your fabric and causes wrinkles. There's a lot of sewing equipment that we use when we're pressing. The first is the iron, which can be a steam iron, it can be a dry iron, or it can be a combination of both, which most irons are. We have an ironing board, which has an adjustable height for the convenience of the user. A press cloth is a piece of cloth that's covered the garment to prevent shine on the fabric and to protect the iron and the fabric. You can purchase a commercial press cloth, which is a piece of fabric sold as a press cloth, or you can use a homemade press cloth, which is a piece of muslin fabric or something to cover your fabric while you're pressing. In a pinch, you can use a paper towel or a piece of heavy fabric. You want to be careful because synthetic fabrics especially can melt from the heat and cause a shine. A sleeve board is used to press sleeves, as the name implies, and also for small areas. There's usually a larger side and a smaller side, and either side can be used. A needle board is used to press damp fabrics. Nap fabrics have a raised surface like corduroy and velvet. The needle board has little raised wire bristles like brushes. If you don't have a needle board, you can use a terry cloth towel or another piece of corduroy or velvet to prevent the fabric from crushing while you're pressing. This is a combination pounding block and point presser. The pounding block is the piece on the bottom. And you don't necessarily pound with it. It's used to put weight on seams to hold them flat, especially useful when you have a heavy fabric. The top part is the point presser, and you can see the point there. It helps to press out points and small parts. Sometimes when you just have the bottom part, it's called a clapper, and you really don't have to pound. You just lay it on the fabric, and the weight of it does the work. This is a tailor's ham, and it was named that because it looks like a ham, and this is used to press curved areas. There's usually a wool portion, like the red plaid, and the bottom is a heavy muslin. You use the portion that matches your fabric, and you can see in the iron there they're pressing some curved areas. Darts get pressed on this. If you don't have a tailor's ham, you can use a rolled up terry cloth towel to get the same effect. This is a sleeve roll, which is very similar to the tailor's ham, to press long sleeves and small curved areas. Different techniques that you want to remember while you're pressing. First of all, keep your fabric smooth on the ironing board so that it doesn't wrinkle up and crease while you're pressing. Press on the wrong side. Remember, pressing is to help you in construction, and you want to see what you've done. Use the correct iron temperature so that you don't melt your fabric. Usually the dial on the iron is a guide, but you can always test it ahead of time. Remove any pins. Sometimes pins, especially in synthetic fabrics, can leave marks in the fabric that are very difficult to get out. Press as you sew. You should always press your seams open before you cross them with another seam, but this just helps to get all of your construction steps nice and smooth as you're sewing. You want to remember to press, don't iron, so that you're not stretching your fabric. Use and care of the iron. Make sure the iron is off before you plug it in. That's basic electrical safety. Add water before you plug the iron in. Usually, most irons can have a half or 3/4 of a cup of water. There might be a window where you can see how much water you put in there. there's a reservoir that sometimes closes up a little bit when you plug it in so that the water might leak. Make sure you use the correct temperature to protect the iron and the fabric. Remove any pins, this time to protect the iron. You don't want to scratch the sole plate where the steam vents could make it rusty after a while. Don't press over nylon zippers, buttons, things like that, t-shirt decals, because they will melt. So cover it with a press cloth, press on the wrong side so you don't ruin these items. Stand the iron on its heel. This keeps any water from sitting on the sole plate rusting. Turn your iron off when you're not using it. Most newer irons come with an automatic shut-off that go off after a few minutes, and if you go back to it just starting to use the iron, makes it heat up again. Empty water after use, especially if you're in a hard water area where the minerals in there might plug up your vents and you wouldn't get any steam. Cool the iron before putting it away. You don't want to put a hot iron in a closet or on other items. Check your cord and plug. Don't yank your cord out. That is what causes it to fray, and if you check it every time you use it, you can make sure that there's no loose wires. Why should we press? It does help in sewing, and it gives a better appearance. It helps step by step get different features fitting in better, and it looks better. It avoids a homemade look. It gives a more professional look.